There was a bridge in old Kyoto that people were afraid to cross at night. A giant waited there, taking swords from anyone who came. He had taken 999. He needed one more. Tonight I'll tell you a story from Japan. It begins with the sound of a flute coming out of the dark. There is a bridge in Kyoto called Gojo. It crosses a river the way bridges do. 800 years ago, people did not like to cross it after dark. There was a story about it. A big man had started coming there at night, and people who crossed the bridge at night did not always come home. The big man was a monk, or he had been one once. His name was Benkei. He was enormous, taller than anyone, wider than anyone, strong in a way that did not seem quite fair. He carried a Naginata, a long blade on a long pole, and 6 other weapons besides. He wore them all at once. When he walked, people stepped aside without deciding to. Benkei had made himself a promise, a strange one. He had decided to take 1,000 swords, not to sell, not for money. He would stand on a bridge at night and stop the warriors who came across and take their swords from them one by one until he had 1,000. No one really knew why. Some promises do not have a reason you can say out loud. Night after night, he stood on Gojo Bridge. A samurai would come. Benkei would step out of the dark. There would be a short, ugly fight, and then there would be a man walking away without his sword, glad to be walking away at all. Benkei kept count. The swords piled up in his mind, one closer to 1,000 each time. By that summer, he had 999. One more sword, and the strange promise would be finished. He stood on the bridge that night the way a man stands when he is almost done with something. Almost there. He waited for the 1,000th warrior. The moon was up. The river moved under the bridge, quiet and cold. And then he heard something he did not expect. Not footsteps, not armor. A flute. Someone was walking onto the bridge in the dark playing a flute, the way you might on a pleasant evening with nothing to fear at all. Out of the shadow came a boy. That is what Benkei saw. A boy. Small, slight, maybe 15, dressed well, a flute at his lips, and a sword at his side that looked almost too big for him. He was not hurrying. He did not seem to know he was supposed to be afraid. Benkei almost let him pass. Almost. But there was a sword, and he needed one more. The boy's name was Ushiwakamaru. He was younger than he would ever be famous for. His father had been killed. His family had been broken and scattered by the men who now ran the country. He had been sent to a temple in the mountains to be safe, to be forgotten, to grow up quiet and cause no trouble. Instead, he had spent those mountain years learning how to move. Benkei stepped into his path and asked for the sword. The way he always did. The way that ended every other night with a man handing it over. The boy looked up at him, this huge shape blocking out the moon, 7 weapons, a blade as long as the boy was tall. And the boy smiled. He said no. Benkei swung the Naginata. It was a blow that should have ended it. It cut through the air where the boy had been. But the boy was not there anymore. He had stepped lightly, the way you step over a puddle, and he was already somewhere else, still holding the flute, watching. Benkei swung again, and again. Each time the great blade found nothing. The boy moved like water, finding the gaps in a wall. Onto the railing of the bridge, off it, behind him, beside him, never quite where the blade came down. The biggest, strongest man in Kyoto, swinging with everything he had, hitting only the night air. It would have looked almost funny if you were watching. The huge man, red in the face, breathing hard, turning and turning. The small figure stepping neatly out of the way each time, unbothered, light on his feet, almost polite about it. Benkei had never in his life failed to touch someone he was trying to hit. Then the boy stopped playing. He tucked the flute away. He had been holding back, and now he was not. He moved in, quick and certain, and struck the great Naginata aside with a flick of his own smaller blade. Benkei felt the weapon leave his hands. He heard it clatter on the wood. And then the boy was standing lightly on his chest, sword pointed down, and it was over. Benkei lay on the bridge and looked up at the boy standing over him. 999 swords. Every warrior in the city afraid of him. And this child had put him on his back without seeming to try. He did not feel angry. That was the strange thing. He felt something closer to relief, as if he had been waiting all this time for someone he could not beat. He asked the boy who he was. And when the boy told him, Benkei understood. Not just a boy, the son of a fallen house, the last of a line the whole country had tried to erase. Standing on a bridge at night, alone, playing a flute, unafraid. Benkei got to his knees. He was still taller kneeling than most men standing. He gave up the 1,000 swords. He did not need them anymore. He had been looking for a reason all those nights on the bridge, and now it was standing in front of him holding a flute. He swore, then and there, that he would follow this boy for the rest of his life. And he meant it. He would keep that promise all the way to the end, years later, in a place far to the north. But that is another night's story. For now there was only the bridge. The river underneath, the moon, a giant on his knees, and a boy putting a flute back to his lips. They walked off Gojo Bridge together, the small one in front and the big one behind, and neither of them was ever quite alone again. The boy would grow up to be called Yoshitsune. In Japan, if you say his name, people think of the man who won impossible battles and then lost everything to his own brother. And they think of Benkei, the giant, always one step behind him to the very last. But all of that came later. On the bridge that night, it was only a beginning. There is a word in Japan for a bond like theirs. Shuju, lord and follower. But that word is a little too cold for what people mean when they tell this story. Benkei did not follow Yoshitsune because he had to. He chose him, on a bridge, in the dark, after losing. Almost every great hero in the old stories has someone like that. The one who stayed, all the way to the end. I think that is the part people really remember. I keep thinking about the moment Benkei got to his knees. He had lost, and instead of anger, he felt something like relief. I wonder if part of him had been waiting his whole life to meet someone he couldn't beat. I'm not sure I understand it, but I think I believe it. I wonder what you think. What about you? Good night.